What's up, everybody? Brezzy43 here, back with our next video. A lot has happened for me lately. I've been MIA for a while here. Life has just been crazy. I've been enjoying some personal time with my girlfriend, and also with some old friends that I haven't connected with in a while. School is ending for a lot of my friends who are in master's programs and such, and so we've been connecting and playing some old video games and playing some Magic the Gathering, and etc. etc. My girlfriend Annie and I did get a new cat. He is sleeping, otherwise I would show him, but that's why the room looks different. My computer actually used to be in that back corner over there, facing the closet, which is now here. So things got rearranged here to accommodate for this new cat, and we've been training it in. We've been trying to get it used to living with our current cat, which is an ordeal in and of itself. But I have still been able to play some Pokemon. I've been playing a lot on ladder, and I've been kind of getting a good sense of the metagame. And today I wanted to do something a little bit different. Today I wanted to do a little team building video where I talk about I've got some ideas jumbling around in my head for a new team to go with, and I kind of wanted to show my actual process for it. I know I've made a video on this in the past about how I team build and what steps I take to go through it, but now that the metagame is defining a bit more for Series 9, I wanted to kind of bring forward some thoughts that I have on this and kind of go from there. So first and foremost here, we're going to look at the team that I was playing with before. This is the Rain team. Whoops, I clicked too fast. Here we go. So just to recap your memory here, I have Gothitelle, Glastrier, Kingdra, Politoed, Incineroar, and Rillaboom. Lately, I have been... I think I've got up to 50 games with this team now, or 55. And I have like 35 wins, 20 losses, or something like that. Overall, quite a positive record. The team is still solid. I still would recommend this team, just to, it's got a lot of elements to it. I don't want to talk too much about it because I just did a video on it, but the shadow tagging your opponent from being able to switch in and out their intimidators to stop Glacier is really powerful. There's a Perish Song component to this team. Minimum speed Rillaboom has been hot. Unfortunately, as of late, I've been losing speed ties to Indeedee, which means that I outspeed it at the terrain setup, which means my terrain is removed, which kind of sucks. But ultimately, the one drawback for this team actually is that Kingdra is just like, I haven't been getting very many matchups where Kingdra has been like, I want to use this Pokemon, it's just been kind of a bit lackluster, if you will. So I've been thinking about some new teams, and I wanted to discuss the metagame first just a little bit. Just to recap, the tools that I typically use when team building is Pikalytics, basically. So Pikalytics is this awesome website, just to remind you. All you have to do is just go pikalytics.com, and you can explore metagames. You can even go as far back as previous VGC formats. But Series 9 VGC 2021, this will give you a percentage of usage for each Pokemon in the metagame. So as you can see, Incineroar and Tapu Fini are the two most used Pokemon, followed closely by Landorus and Regieleki. Gives you the percent usage, gives you, a quick little, if you click on them, you switch between the Pokemon. But as you can see for Incineroar, gives you his stats, his most common moves that people are using, the most common teammates paired with Incineroar, most common items, the most common ability, and common EV spreads and their percent usage. This is a fantastic website to use when team building. You can kind of look at what other people are doing for common partners, so you can kind of get an idea. Sorry, every time I move, I have to make sure that I'm not running over the cat because he likes to sleep at the bottom of my chair here. So, but this will give you a really good idea to potentially look at some partner Pokemon, so that you can get a general idea for like maybe potential partners that you overlooked, right? So with that being said, let's the one other thing I want to draw your attention to is there's been a handful of tournaments recently. We're coming up on Players Cup 4 here at some point, but there's a Twitter account called Rose Tower, and all I did was I went to Rose Tower Twitter, and it's this very first one right here. I created a Twitter for this account. I haven't used it much in terms of posting, but I do follow a lot of popular VGC content accounts, and it's a fantastic. There's been a ton of events lately for this format, and you can click right here and you can see, boom, here's a top 16 team. You can see a bunch of different Pokemon showcased here. You can see a lot of different, like you can see the matchups. You can see people who've been moved forward, etc., etc. This is super, super cool in my opinion, and it's a phenomenal resource to use when team building or when looking at the metagame. So you can look at all of these. This one was from May 16th. This one, you can just keep looking and see what popular Pokemon are being used, maybe any weird metagame things from there, whatever. So I referenced both of those, and I use a lot of Pikalytics here, but I wanted to kind of talk about building a team from the ground up, and looking at it from a perspective of like balancing what I like about Pokemon. So first and foremost, I want to start with a meta game, quote unquote, team. What does that mean? What's a meta team? Well, a metagame team would be something that utilizes the popular picks in the metagame. And the reason why the metagame picks are so good is because it's what other people are succeeding with, right? And there's a reason why they're succeeding with them. I don't want to get into this topic too much right now, but one of the things that I try to talk to my friends about when I'm teaching them this game or when I'm teaching them is that you kind of have to think about how you want to play the game. Do you want to play the game to improve competitively and give yourself the best chance of winning, or do you want to win with your favorite Pokemon? And that's like a fine line to walk. Sometimes there's a middle ground where you can make metagame calls where a specific Pokemon that you really, really like also happens to match up very well in the metagame, but generally those two don't coincide. So, you know, an example that always gets brought up is Incineroar, right? Incineroar is like arguably the best intimidator in the game. Sometimes in the past there's been other intimidators that have been stronger for a given metagame. Like, I guess specifically I'm thinking about like Mega Salamence, right? Because it was Salamence with Intimidate that could then Mega Evolve, and it was one of the stronger Megas and etc. But basically from 2018 when they gave Incineroar Intimidate, well, more so 2019 when Incineroar actually picked up a lot in popularity, it's been a format staple. And why is that? Because it's a phenomenal intimidator. It gets Fake Out, it gets the ability to cycle with either Parting Shot or U-Turn. It gets good. It's a phenomenal type. Dark is a great defensive type. So is Fire, and Fire is also a good offensive type. Yeah, the list goes on and on, right? So the designers of this game are giving you a Pokemon and saying, here's the best thing that you can use in this specific slot. Now, best overall, I'm not talking about best for a specific team, but like Incineroar is usually not disputed among players as there's a better intimidator. There might be a better intimidator for your team, but in a vacuum, Incineroar is argued as the best intimidate support Pokemon out there. So using Incineroar when the game has designed a Pokemon like Incineroar gives me the best chance of winning, etc. So metagame would be looking at the picks in the metagame right now that are very popular and trying to build a nice team that gives you a lot of balance. Now, I don't play hyper offense very well, so I'm not going to be building a hyper offense team. I do. I think the closest thing I came to like a hyper offense team was like my Kyogre Talonflame PC4 qualifier team. I just like that was to me like I don't like the idea of it just changes the way that I play. I need more practice with it. I'm not a good pilot of hyper offense, so I won't be building a hyper offense team. I'm going to build a team that I think fits my play style, which is a bit more of a bulky offensive kind of setup team, right? And two Pokemon I really want to highlight in this metagame right now that are phenomenal are 2 offensive Pokemon. The first one is Garchomp, and the second one is Celesteela. Now, these 2 Pokemon started to pick up a little bit in popularity at the end of Series 7, Celesteela mainly. Garchomp saw some fringe usage. It competes for the same slot as Landorus as like a good ground type, but Garchomp does some things that Landorus doesn't do. Garchomp has different, like Landorus is far more like, I don't know if I'm using the right word when I say snowbally, but Landorus gets stab airstream and can just pick up a knockout with a strong physical airstream that snowballs into the next knockout because now you're faster. And Landorus generally, it gets good coverage, it gets ground, rock, flying, and like fighting if you want it, or bug. And it's got Intimidate, so it's fantastic outside of Dynamax as well. But Garchomp does some things that Landorus doesn't do. Specifically, the Dragon typing. Dragon's been become worse offensively since like the introduction of Fairy typing, obviously more Steel types being popular, etc. But Dragon does a few things fantastically for this Pokemon defensively. Dragon is still fantastic defensively because it does resist Fire, Water, Grass, and Electric, which are like the 4 base, I call them the elemental types. But right now all those types are very popular. And on top of that, Garchomp maintains its rock weakness, or rock resistance, where Landorus becomes a rock neutrality because of the flying typing. So Garchomp is better against Sun because it resists the fire attacks, and it also resists the it gets hit neutrally by grass, same as Landorus, but it also resists the Torkoal, resists the Charizard, can pressure the Charizard because it's faster at 102 base speed, whereas Landorus is not faster. And Garchomp is also very good against why am I blanking on the name? Colossal. It's better against Colossal because it resists both of Colossal's stabs and can pressure it back with a ground move. So Garchomp, Gabriel Agati played Garchomp in the PC3 like playoffs, and it looked good for him. He was running a Life Orb set, so that's definitely one way you can go. But Garchomp is a fantastic Pokemon, and I think Celesteela works very well with Garchomp, right? So Celesteela they kind of overlap a little bit in terms of what they're weak to. So they cover each other very well is what I'm trying to say. So Garchomp has 3 weaknesses, right? 4 times weakness to Ice, a weakness to Fairy, and a weakness to Dragon. Celesteela, it has a neutrality to Ice, but does resist Dragon and Fairy. Celesteela is weak to fire and weak to electric. Garchomp is immune to electric and resists fire. Do you see what I'm saying? So they cover each other very well. So these 2 Pokemon are fantastic together, in my opinion. In previous formats, Celesteela has been used as a like Leech Seed endgame Pokemon, protect Leech Seed, like Heavy Slam, and then some of them run Wide Guard, some of them run like Flamethrower for extra coverage, etc. That set's fine, but it's not really what I'm looking to do on this team. I'm looking to Dynamax Celesteela or Dynamax Garchomp and use them to really like good effect. I also like the fact that both of these Pokemon are good inside and outside of Dynamax. That's really important. One of my biggest gripes about the Pokemon Thundurus is that, just a real quick show, Thundurus, Wild Charge, Fly, Superpower, and then Protect or Lash Out or whatever. If you look at these 3 moves, they're horrendous outside of Dynamax. I guess Wild Charge, but that might be a bit harsh for Wild Charge, which this Pokemon does get Thunder Punch. I didn't even realize that. But Wild Charge has recoil, so it's not amazing, especially on a Pokemon that's so frail. Fly is a 2-turn move, and if you can predict it, it folds to Protect. And then Superpower, you only get 1 good Superpower off, and then it struggles. So Celesteela and Garchomp are better outside of Dynamax, which is something that I really, really like about the 2 of them together. So this is where I wanted to start here. There's a couple of different options for sets, but I want to kind of think about more of my Pokemon first before I get too far into like the sets and what I need them to do and etc. So one of the things that, if you remember, my PC3 team, let's see if I still have that. I do. It was this one. So this was my PC3 team, and this one was like a Trick Room variation with Lumberry Glastrium, Power Herb Celesteela, and a really good like defensive core. It was, I ended up making this team, and then Yuki-san ended up using this variation to very, very good effect. Phenomenal effect, actually. It was basically just protect the queen, and the queen is Glastrier. So you've got like a ton of different ways to set up. You've got a bunch of fantastic defensive options together, and etc. But the main thing about this team, even though I didn't qualify for the Players' Cup with it, was that it kind of made me, this along with my Lapras Zacian team that I used in Series 8, made me fall in love with the support duo of Incineroar plus Amoonguss. These two Pokemon together, they cover each other phenomenally. They pivot around nicely, which is, Amoonguss loves to be able to pivot because of Regenerator. Incineroar likes to cycle its Intimidates. They switch in and out together without sharing any weaknesses. You know, Incineroar is weak to ground, which Amoonguss is neutral to. Incineroar is weak to rock, which Amoonguss is neutral to. Incineroar is weak to fighting, which Amoonguss resists. Water, Amoonguss resists. Neutrality to fairy, Amoonguss resists, etc. Amoonguss is weak to fire, Incineroar's got you. Weak to ice, Incineroar's got you. Weak to, there's a few other ones. Psychic, Incineroar's got you. The only one that you can't really cover is flying, but that's not a big deal. So these two Pokemon together are just phenomenal, like phenomenal support Pokemon. They're obviously good metagame picks as well. Amoonguss and Incineroar are like, there, if you look, like, I don't know where Amoonguss is on this list anymore. Amoonguss might have dropped down a bit. Yeah, Amoonguss is like 7.23, but that's still a reasonable percentage. Just great Pokemon together, and they pair nicely with what we have so far. Incineroar doesn't share any weaknesses here, and also helps you to intimidate things that Celesteela doesn't want to deal with, or Garchomp doesn't want to deal with. It helps you against Trick Room. It helps you. There's just a lot of things that this Pokemon can do. Amoonguss also helps you with both those things. Can spore things, provides redirection, which both these Pokemon appreciate, etc. Now we do have you often hear me talk about, when I team build, I often talk about fire, water, grass cores, right? I talk about it all the time as like, this is the reason why fire, water, grass is a good core to like together is that they cover each other so well. So having the, like, you know, your Incineroar is going to get hit by a water move. You have two switch-ins for it. Incineroar is going to be hit by, or Amoonguss is going to be hit by a fire move. You've got two switch-ins for it, etc. That team that I used in PC3 kind of made me fall in love with this combination of Pokemon right here. They together offer so many resistances and immunities that it's just phenomenal. You've got a flying and a ground. You've got a ground immunity here, and you've got a flying resist for Amoonguss and Incineroar. Only one weakness to fire, which Incineroar can cover for you, and, or not fire, excuse me, grass, which Incineroar and Amoonguss can cover for you technically. And you pick up some really big resistances like steel and flying, and I'm missing one other big one. Oh, fire. Yeah. Water type, fire resistance, which is great for Celesteela, etc. It pairs really nicely with Amoonguss as well because of the Dynamax nature of this format. Nasty Plot Rotom is so good. So I think these three Pokemon go very well together. And the last thing I was going to say is that because of another really popular team building core that works so well together is Steel, Fairy, Dragon, right? They cover each other well. They have so many resistances and immunities together. Like Dragon so this Garchomp has an electric immunity. Celesteela has a poison and a ground immunity. A Fairy type would have a dragon immunity. So if Celesteela is going to get hit by a fire move, you can switch in Garchomp, or a Rotom or Incineroar. If Garchomp's going to be hit by an ice move, you can switch into Rotom or Incineroar. If you're going to be hit by a dragon move, you can switch into your fairy type or your steel type, but fairy type would obviously be like so one of these this is a like very evidently turning into a setup team. If we have a nasty plot Rotom, I think Swords Dance Garchomp would be pretty sweet, and potentially Meteor Beam Power Herb Celesteela would be pretty sweet. So having a secondary redirector is really cool, and I actually think Togekiss is a bit underexplored in this format right now. Togekiss has been amazing for a lot of the like VGC Sword and Shield just in its entirety, but it fell out in Series 7. It was banned in Series 6. Series 7 came along and brought about the Crown Tundra. Then you had Pokemon like Metagross, Pokemon like Regieleki, Pokemon like I think those are the two big ones, but Thundurus was really popular and whatever. That kind of bullied Togekiss out of the format. The whole reason why Togekiss was so good was that obviously redirection is amazing in a Dynamax format because of all of the like these really powerful moves that get redirected into a potential resistance or whatever. It's just so... Redirection has been good in VGC before, but it usually comes in the form of either Mungus or Clefairy or like fringe Volcarona stuff. I guess now that we have... Indeedee didn't always exist, so Indeedee might stick around for sure, but this is, from my understanding, this is the first time that Togekiss has ever actually been good. And I think it's mostly due to the fact that Dynamax exists, and also I think it might have something to do with the fact that Togekiss has a very high base stat pool, and at the time that VGC was a thing, this Pokemon had the highest base stats by a lot. So, sorry, I'm saying that wrong. When VGC Sword and Shield came out, Togekiss might have been one of the Pokemon with the highest base stat total in the game. So, definitely super, super, like, underexplored in Series 9 in my opinion, but one of the reasons... This is what I was going to say before. One of the strengths of Togekiss in Series 1 through 5 was that it was only really being pressured by one axis. Oh, Glastrier is another Pokemon that kind of poops on Togekiss. Togekiss was only really being pressured via one axis of the metagame, or of the type weakness chart, which was Steel. So you often just ran Battery Berry, and you could take any Steel type move. You could take it from Durant, you could take it from Excadrill, like whatever, and then you could do something back like Yawn or whatever. But now that you've got a really strong electric type Pokemon in Regieleki, and you have a really strong ice type Pokemon in Glastrier, it gets a bit dicey, so you kind of have to be careful. But I think Togekiss fits on a team like this phenomenally. It gives us that Steel Fairy Dragon core. It can redirect attacks, fairy attacks, and dragon attacks away from Garchomp to help Garchomp set up. It can also redirect fire type attacks away from Celesteela to help it set up, or redirect grass type attacks away from Rotom, to help Rotom set up. And it's really, really good with the Super Luck ability because it's kind of like Incineroar, where it's one of those like support-ish Pokemon that doesn't have to be Dynamaxed or doesn't have to be invested in speed to act, or invested in offense to actually be to pressure things offensively, right? So this is the team that I was thinking that we would use. Now we can start looking at sets and abilities. I think the vast majority of people use Rough Skin Chomp. I don't think that Sandvale is necessarily bad. I just think Rough Skin is better overall, to be like, it's more consistent and it's more turned on, if you will. Like Sandvale, if you're Dynamaxing Garchomp and you're going for a max Rockfall, then obviously Sandvale's kind of interesting. You just got 25% chance to dodge, like 1/4%. Like, that's not bad, but making your opponent lose 1/8 of their max HP with Rough Skin is pretty solid. So I think Rough Skin is definitely the choice. Now for this team, I was looking at Swords Dance Garchomp as being a actual like threat to the metagame. It punishes my opponent for passive leads. It pairs nicely with the double redirection, and it works with Like, I still want to be able to Dynamax Garchomp on turn 1 and do offensive pressure. I think Earthquake and Rock Slide are pretty solid moves together. And the last one would be if we wanted a Dragon move or if we wanted to just run actual Protect. And I think it's probably got to be Protect. I think that Earthquake Rock Slide beats basic. It hits everything for at least neutral. I can't think of much outside of like just straight like Bronzong that it doesn't hit, because like it would have to be immune to ground and resist rock. And there's not much in the metagame that resists rock outside of steel and ground. So maybe like Landorus could be. Well, Landorus still gets hit neutrally by rock. So yeah, I think this is pretty good coverage. And then from there, if I was gonna run a Dragon move, it would be Dragon Claw. But Standard Protect might be better. I don't know about that yet. We might have to come back to that. In terms of an item, sorry, I just touched my glasses. It's like the worst feeling in the world. In terms of items, there's basically only 2 of them. Like, let's see what other people are doing before I speak too soon. 7, there he is. Life Orb, Lumberry, Assault Vest. White Herb is interesting. I didn't really consider White Herb. I'd only really seen Life Orb and Assault Vest on ladder, but I was thinking about a Lumberry set myself. Lumberry is definitely like, wrong slot. Lumberry is definitely, there's a lot of like sleep going around. Lumberry helps you out a ton against the Sun matchup. You don't really need to have Life Orb to do damage, especially with how setup oriented this team would be. In terms of EV spreads, I think you want to be Jolly Max Speed. I'm like 100% positive of that. Technically, you could go down to 168, which would outspeed Charizard specifically. But like the only Pokemon that you're doing this with, like that you're not going to be outspeeding at that point or speed tying with, is like opposing Chomp. But I don't think that really matters. I think you should just go max speed. It's only 1 point. There can't be much that 1 point gives you. And the only thing I was really thinking about, I haven't really calced for much, but I was thinking that running something like this would be what I would recommend. And the reason why is because this 117 number, it brings you, it messes with Download Porygon. Download Porygon will get an attack boost rather than a special attack boost. And that's going to be relevant because that's one of the only Pokemon that actually pressures you. So if we look at, I actually was calcing, this was what I was calcing before. So if we do that, I don't want to go for that much because I don't think let's see what Porygon's doing these days. Okay, Modest 36 is the most popular set. That one's pretty offensive. That one's pretty offensive. Let's say, okay, this is Quiet 36. So we have a chance to live this. If they aren't Modest, if they're like full defense, like Bold or something, then we definitely take it, which is huge. Being able to take this is definitely nice. I don't know what Porygon's usually. I've been seeing a lot of Eerie Impulse, but I don't know what move they drop. Whether it's if they run Tri-Attack plus Eerie Impulse or if they run Ice Beam plus Eerie Impulse. But either way, they have to be slightly invested in special attack in order to actually one-shot us, and then it's still a roll, and that's non-Dynamax Chomp as well. So I think this set's fine. We don't have to be max attack because we're going to be Swords Dancing a good percentage of the time, and we still have enough offensive capability that if we need to max, we can on turn 1 and go for damage. Now, the Celesteela, I'm a little bit, like, torn on, because I've been seeing a lot of Assault Vest, but on a team like this, the Power Herb set seems so cool, because you've got 2 different forms of redirection, and yeah, the Power Herb set seems like it could be really, really cool, but For now, we'll do it with Assault Vest. This might be something that I change after testing, but I think Assault Vest is definitely one of the strongest items on Celesteela. You're almost always going to be running the same moves. You're going to be running Flash Cannon, Air Slash for the 2 stab moves, Meteor Beam because you want to be able to hit Rotom Heat, who completely walls you, and then Flamethrower. If you were gonna drop one of the moves, it would probably be Flamethrower. Now, I'm going to go modest, and I'm going to go max speed. The reason why you want to be max speed is because you outspeed... Let me show you. If you go to +1, you actually outspeed, like, Zard at a +1. Now, that doesn't always come up, but you outspeed Urshifu, you outspeed a lot of different things at +1. So if this thing is Timid max speed, you'll see it hits 167. So, being able to outspeed other base 100s like Zapdos or, I think Zapdos would be a much more, like, the base 100 slot is really crowded. It's got a ton of metagame Pokemon at base 100. You've got Entei, you've got Zapdos, you've got Zard, you've got Regigigas. I've been seeing a little bit of Mence again on ladder. So there's a lot of base 100s that it's important to outspeed. There's not really any base 101s. There's just like Landorus Eye, but yeah, so just being max speed gives you that comfortability. And I've been seeing, I've been having the most success with EVing for the second jump here. 165 gives you that second stat jump. And then we want to have an even number for our Assault Vest. And then you could just do something like this and put the rest there. If there's something specific you want to calc for on the defensive or special defensive side, then you could go for that. But I think having the special defense investment here on Celesteela, or at least having an even number, is a good thing, right? All right. So Rotom, I'm going to jump to Rotom here now. I have a pretty standard Rotom set that I like a lot. I like Citrus Berry on this team. And I tried to do something. So if you look, 156 is actually what you want to be for Citrus, and here's why. So Citrus heals at 50%. So if you do 156 divided by 2, you will actually, at 78 HP, you'll get your heal. Whereas at 157 divided by 2, it's still gonna be at 78, but it's gonna be like, it could potentially get wonky with you, especially when you think about the recovery. So if Citrus Berry heals 1/4 when you drop to half, right? So 156 divided by 4 means you get 39 healing at half HP. So 156 again divided by 2 is 78, which means you'll actually go back up to 117. Whereas if you do 157 divided by 4, you're still only getting 39 HP. I guess it doesn't. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that because you still get the same amount of healing and you still drop to the same threshold, you can actually free up a stat point by just hitting 156. One of the Pokemon that actually comes into play on is Incin. If you look, even though 202 divided by 2 is still an even number, you still get your Citrus Proc at 101. You actually get a weird healing number. So you would rather EV to like 200 because then you still get your 50, and you get that extra stat points. Does that make sense? So for Rotom, 244 is where I like to be. I'm gonna be modest. The speed stat that I usually hit is 140. No, it's not. It's 116. Sorry. It outspeeds base, like Pokemon hitting base 120. The other thing that would be is like you could maybe go one more than that just to like guarantee that you outspeed those things. And then Rotom gets his jumps at here and then again at 116. I usually just do 1 point here. You potentially do have 2 other points you can work with here. I'm just going to go like this, but if you want to go back down to that jump point and put those 2 points into something else, you can definitely do that. That's fine. But this gives us a good, an even number for Nasty Plot, which is good. So Protect, Nasty Plot, Thunderbolt, Hydro Pump. This also gives us a fair amount of offense as well to be able to still Dynamax it right away without having to worry about needing to set up. That's what's nice about all three of these Pokemon, actually. Depending on what item you go with here, whether it's Assault Vest or Meteor or Power Herb, and then Chomp, is that they all have enough offensive capability to Dynamax right out the get-go, but they also have the option to like set up. If you were going to run Meteor Beam Power Herb, then you could go for that and get a free special attack boost before you Dynamax. So that's really, really cool. Next, we'll do the supports, and these are a bit trickier. I don't like calling them just supports, but I have a Togekiss spread that I was using previously that I really like. Back when I was using Togekiss, I was using 244, and then I was using the defense investment here, which hits the second jump, and then I was going for just 1 point in both of these, and then 60. And this is a pretty good defense point, but I think what I want to actually EV for real quick while we're talking is, so actually I think I still have, what is this set? I don't remember this set. Was this my, I don't remember this set, but that's okay. I want to look at Regieleki, because I think Regieleki is the Pokemon that I want to have an answer for here. So let's say it's Thunderbolt, and then it's Magnet, and then let's say we'll calc for Modest. Modest is the one that I want to calc for. Wait, why is... Okay, maybe it just was built in already. Okay, so 252. Let's Dynamax it as well. Okay, so we're going to go for Walk-On Berry. Okay, that's pretty nice. So we actually can just go for 1 additional point here and guarantee to survive max speed, or max lightning from Modest, Magnet, Transistor, Aleki, which is pretty sweet. I don't think we would take Helping Hand, which is something that I've been seeing a little bit more recently, so that's something to keep in mind as well. But having at least this is really, really nice. Obviously, Togekiss is not my first choice for a Pokemon to face off against Regieleki, but Pokemon's a dynamic game, so you can't always get what you want in terms of matchups and such. You have to have your Pokemon kind of be prepared for everything. So I think that the only thing I'm unsure of is speed in this format for Togekiss. Let's see what people are doing with Togekiss. It actually has more usage than Garchomp. That's crazy. Okay. So Scope Lens is cool and all. I don't like Scope Lens very much. I think that set is just like a bit outdated at this point, because there's too many things in the format that check Togekiss, and Togekiss is at an awkward speed stat where it doesn't actually like outspeed what you want it to outspeed right away, so you get pressured by a lot of things offensively. But it looks like a lot of people are running Modest. Maybe Scope Lens is what most of these sets are. Okay, so here's one. This is Bold 164, 228, 116. I wonder what that's doing. Let's see what 116 does here. Did that take Helping Hand? No. Okay, so it doesn't take Helping Hand. I don't know what that does. We know that this takes Max Lightning with Walk-On Berry. I think I want to have some speed, but maybe it just doesn't matter. Let's go back to this. So we know we want to be 12 here, and we don't want to waste an EV, so we're going to put 1 there. Do we die to this guy? Oops, I crashed it. Glastrier. Not level 100, level 50. And then Bold 196 -1 because we'll intimidate it. Okay, so we do live a -1 Glastrier. So I guess I don't know what speed to put it at. I really don't. I went for the jump here in 196, but that might be too much. So we'll just leave it for this for now. I think that this is fine, at least for a starting point. I don't know what speed set I want. I might do some more digging and look, but I think We said Walk-On Berry for the Alekis, which we keep in mind we do have some really good answers to Aleki. We have Chomp that just completely walls it, and we have Amoonguss that also that resists its attacks as well. One of the things that I like about Togekiss right now is that I'm actually going to go for the Yawn set. Protect Yawn, Follow Me, and Dazzling Gleam. So you still get a 25% chance to, or you still get increased chances to crit, as well as like Dazzling Gleam hitting both opponents, but you do get to Yawn stuff. So if your opponent doesn't have something that super offensively checks Togekiss, then you can just start yawning their Pokemon, which is super cool. So that takes care of Togekiss. Like I said, if you have a different speed set you want to hit, then definitely take some out of defense and put it into speed. But for now, I think this is going to be what I want to go for. I think this was the speed. I think I hit base 60 speed on my one that I used for PC2, that Sun Team, and I think I was pretty pleased with it. Next, we'll go ahead and hit Incineroar. So my Citrus Berry is in use on Incineroar, which is one of the best items on Incineroar in my opinion. But I actually am a big fan of Safety Goggles. I like to have as many ways to fight opposing sleep as I can. And on this team, I have Garchomp with Lumberry. I have Amoonguss, who's immune to most forms of sleep, and I have Goggles to ignore opposing Amoongusses and such, as well as Electric Terrain. So that's definitely going to be helpful. Safety Goggles is one of my favorite sets to use on this Pokemon. And let's see. Okay, so I was going to go for... I don't think speed investment matters too much on an Incin like this. Maybe just putting 1 point into both of these is good. But I like Careful Nature. I like hitting that EV jump. This Pokemon's really... like you can do almost anything with it, and it's still gonna be good for you. This is an Incineroar that I have right now currently, but this extra point right here in speed will let you outspeed other Incineroar that don't have any investment and go for Fake Out. So Flare Blitz, Fake Out, Parting Shot, and then I think I'm gonna put Taunt here. Taunt is really good at shutting down things that like people trying to slow play you, people trying to set up, Trick Room, things like that. Taunt helps you out a lot against. This team isn't super weak to Trick Room, but it's not perfect against it either. So having access to Taunt is definitely a good thing. So lastly is going to be Amoonguss, and I kind of had some ideas for Amoonguss. I still have a Focus Sash available, so that's definitely an option. Looks like a lot of people have gone back to using minimum speed. A Quiet Amoonguss. Holy cow. What? That's a set? 5% of people are using offensive Amoonguss. What the heck? Okay, well, anyway. Regenerator is going to be good. The moves are pretty much always standard. You have 3 moves that are going to be on basically every Amoonguss. It's going to be Protect, Spore, and Rage Powder. From there, you can kind of choose your last move. One of the things that I was kind of thinking about was like, I have a lot of love for Pollen Puff. I think Pollen Puff is a super cool move, but I don't think it fits this style of team very well. I used Pollen Puff on my Lapras like bulky team, and it was cool there. But I think having either Sludge Bomb or Energy Ball is going to be like more impactful for this team. The question is, so what does Sludge Bomb hit that Energy Ball doesn't? Because Energy Ball hits Finny all the same. You don't get to hit Rillaboom. That might actually matter. Okay, that's 1. Grimmsnarl, okay, that's 2. Opposing Venusaur, yeah, okay. So like Energy Ball, it would be really cool, but because it would allow you to hit other water types if there are any that are like problematic. But I think Sludge Bomb is probably just better. So from here, we want to look at our like what item we want to give it, and we have a lot of options. Cobra Berry is like the number 1 most used item for good reason. It's because there's tons of flying types out there right now. But for this team, there's a couple of options that are kind of interesting. I can think of two that are a bit more appealing to me. One of them is Akaberry, which is something that I used on my Amoonguss when I used Glastrier. And the reason why is that Amoonguss would be a phenomenal support Pokemon to pair with Celesteela to redirect attacks away from Celesteela and know that nothing's going to one-shot you, because you already resist electric and you have a fire resist now with Akaberry, which is super cool. Another one that potentially could be interesting would be Yachi Berry, which would be specifically for the Glastrier matchup, basically. So you could put a Amoonguss inside Trick Room against your opponent's Glastrier and then just Spore it, and then you know that you take one Yachi Berry, you take one Ice attack because of Yachi Berry, which is pretty cool. I think it's a toss-up. I think given that we're running Assault Vest Celesteela, I'm a bit more interested in Yachi Berry. But if we were running Meteor Beam or something, I would definitely be more interested in the Akaberry, so you can lead Amoonguss Selly, and you can go for the Meteor Beam power herb play and Rage Powder with Amoonguss, and know that you can take whatever attack was going to go into Celesteela, because they do share weaknesses. But Yachi Berry helps us against Glastrier and also covers our Chomp phenomenally, because Togekiss doesn't cover the ice weakness, right? And Amoonguss would cover the Ice Beam from Porygon, covers the Ice Punch from Metagross, covers if they're still running that, I don't know if they're still running that or not, but it also covers the Glastrier as well. And then the only thing we left behind, we have EVs left here. I don't know if running Zero Speed is important. We don't have Trick Room on this team, so I'm inclined to say no, and we just know that we have Amoonguss to help us against Glastrier, and it outspeeds Glastrier at neutral. So let's see, or not outside of Trick Room, you know that you'll outspeed minimum speed. Wow. Okay, that's -1 though, right? Okay, so let's say it's neutral, and let's say we're Yachi. Okay, we take that handily. Okay, I don't know where this spread came from. I also am not a big fan of running max HP on Amoonguss, just because it's got such high HP already. That's something like... People are only going... This one person's going very low, but this is that offensive one. I just, like... It's the same thing I ran into with Lapras, right? Is that... Wait, that's a wasted... Huh. Okay. It's the same thing I ran into with Lapras, was that Lapras has such a huge HP stat off the get-go that investing a ton into it doesn't do as much as investing in the defenses because they're lower. But I understand that, like, unless you're calculating for something that specific, investing in HP is just generally going to be better than investing in defenses. So we'll just go with this set, and I think we want to be bold. And then we'll go for the bumps here. This is what I usually do. Nothing specific here that I think actually matters. I think we just hit it right there. Yep, 76, 156, and then 116 here. That gives you good, like, all-around bulk. And so if we look at how much it takes, so we are bold, and we are 156. So non-intimidated max Hailstorm does that much through Yachi Berry, but if we put it at -1, it does that much. So it's not even two-shotting, because after Yachi Berry gets consumed, we put it to -2. It looks like it would KO at -2. So, but still, like, Yachi Berry, I think Yachi Berry is worth exploring for sure. And if it just doesn't come up where it's ever good, then we can switch it back to Koba or Aka, or go for Focus Sash or something. But yeah, this would be what I would call a metagame team. The last thing, I think we'll just run Protect here first. If it comes up where we want a Dragon move, then we can run a Dragon move. But I like having Protect on a lot of Pokemon, so This is what I would call a like meta team. We've got a lot of good metagame picks. I think Garchomp and Celesteela are phenomenal in the metagame right now. Incineroar and Amoonguss are fantastic support Pokemon that are also very metagame oriented Pokemon. They're fantastically they match up very well into the opposing team. Rotom is it's kind of overlooked right now, I believe. I don't think a lot of people are running Rotom. I think Rotom Heat still sees the most usage, but Rotom Wash is still a fantastic Pokemon. Where is it? It can't be that low. Okay, there it is, 4.42%. So not terribly low, but this Pokemon is very good right now. Its only real check in the metagame is like Rillaboom, which we have good matchups for. We have Celesteela and Togekiss and Incineroar that match up very well against Rillaboom. So yeah, I think that like this team also fits my playstyle. So this is one of those things I was talking about where you can build a team from the metagame that fits your style of play instead of just going down the list and be like, okay, Incineroar, Tapu Fini, Landorus, Alecki, Rillaboom, Porygon, go. Like I went through and I made intelligent decisions towards Pokemon that I wanted to use that were also good in the metagame. And these two Pokemon I think are fantastic right now. Earthquake on this team is really cool as well because you have 3 immunities to ground. So you can just freely click Earthquake, which is super cool in my opinion, and not have to worry about the drawbacks. Obviously it's a bit worse against like Rillaboom or something, but like setting up grassy terrain or whatever, but generally like it's going to be fine. And then Rotom fits these setup oriented offensive teams very well. It's good outside of Dynamax as well. And then Incineroar, Amoonguss, and Togekiss support the team very well. So yeah, feel free to grab this team. Feel free to use it if you're interested in it. I definitely don't think I haven't tested it yet, so I don't know if it's perfect, but this is just a team that I've had kind of jumping around in my head for a little while now. I don't know how long my camera's been doing that, but it seems like I have clashed with the sun behind me. So yeah, the only problem I would say about a metagame team is that your opponents might be able to call a lot of the moves and the items on your Pokemon because you're using a metagame team. So you do have to play well, and you do have to also understand that people might be gunning for some of these Pokemon because they are popular in the metagame. So they're not the most popular Pokemon outside of Incineroar, but they are still like common Pokemon, right? So yeah, anyway, that's going to do it for me here. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will make another one of these with another way that I like to build teams, and we'll do that next. So take it easy.